So I'm Ambassador Vincent Karega. I'm a public servant of Rwanda since '95, and precisely from 2nd of May. That's when I was formally registered as a civil servant, and that was in the Ministry of Women and Family, and the minister was late Aloysie Inyumba. And I was initially just an expert, a young expert, and then head of division for gender mainstreaming. And a year or 2 years later, I became the director of planning, and the ministry became the Ministry of Gender, Social Affairs, and Women in Development. I'm a son to a big family of 9. 2 have passed on, and my father was born and raised and educated in Rwanda, in Astrida, the Evolué, the intellectual of the days. He completed his studies in studies and practice in '59, and he was the head of the medical center in a place in Gisenyi known as Kayove. Those days it was called Mukanaye, and that's my mother's village. Him himself was coming from Nyange. Nyange was part of Old Kibuye. Today is in Ngororero, but not very far from Kayove in Rubavu. So they were sent into refugee in DRC by the troubles of 59, 61, 63 that were occurring in Rwanda toward independence and the collapse of the king, and also the first pogroms against Tutsis in Rwanda. So him and my mother, and our firstborn, my sister, my late sister, had to run. The baby was only 2 months old, and that was their firstborn, and my father was 27, my mother was 28, my mother was 18. And they went into Goma, DRC. After a few months, my father got a job, because DRC, Rwanda, and Burundi were all Belgian colonial. Only DRC was independent by then, but only 1 year. But the Belgium administration was still working. So his same number of ID, working ID in Rwanda, applied in DRC. So he joined the administration, and he was sent to a place called Walikale to head the hospital in Walikale. And that's where I was born in '63. But actually, he crossed into DRC in '61, August, and I was born in April '63. So as a child, we moved from Walikale. I don't know Walikale. We moved when I was 1 year, and we went to Masisi. There he was also heading the hospital, my father. And I turned 5.5 or 6 in Masisi, and I started my primary school in Masisi. I only had 1 quarter in Masisi. Then we were moved, because he was a public servant, and public servant of those days were really being moved quite a lot. There was a big mobility. We were moved to a place called Kiroche, 30 kilometers from Goma. And we had a transition in Goma, because that's where his parent and the parents of my mother were living. They were in Goma. And I spent another term in Goma while my dad is organizing the home and things where we should go in Kiroche. Then we went to Kiroche. I continued, I think, in P1, the last term. And then I started first and second term in P2. And we moved again in North Kivu, a place called Butembo. Butembo, I completed my second year, primary. No, Butembo, I had to redo the second, because in Kiroche and Goma, I was studying in Kiswahili, and in Butembo, it was French. So I had to redo my second year. Then we came back to Goma for another term. And finally, my father moved us to southern part of DRC, a place known as Katanga. Those days it was Zaire and Shaba province at the border with Zambia. And that's where I grew until university. So I did my high school and a seminary. I did my primary school near our house. It was a mining company, and they had schools and hospitals for the mining company, and that's why I studied. Then I was sent to a boarding for the three first years of high school, and then back to the company school where I completed biochemistry at high school, but at university I did political science. 5 years of a bachelor degree then was into two parts, 3 years, and then you are called a graduate, in French, gradué, and 2 more years, then you become licencié, which is equated to 4 or 5 years elsewhere, where that is called bachelor degree. But later on, as a public servant in Rwanda, I attended a Maastricht University outreach program that came here in Rwanda. Then I did management, public management, a master's in public management from that Maastricht University of the Netherlands. But beside that, I went through so many other trainings in Japan, in Canada, in Jordan, in UK, in Harvard, in so many places, South Africa, and so on, but short courses, either on trade, on policy, on regional development planning, management, policy development, decentralization, all sorts of support tools for the kind of work I was doing in Rwanda. Now, while doing political science at university, and by then we were Congolese, and there was no sign that one day we'll be back to Rwanda. So most of the people who were doing political science could work in different parastatals, in administration, in personnel management, or in government, into municipalities. And if they could be promoted or grow, it could be the equivalent of a mayor, bourgmestre or commissaire de zone. So those were kind of my aspirations, but I was also a bit thinking of private sector. I do love cooking, and I was thinking of two things, either writing books or opening a restaurant when I grow. But as I completed the school, things were no longer going well in Congo. Not too bad, but I could see or foresee that my sister's chances, my father's chances of working for those parastatals or the government were being reduced, and the economy was fastly collapsing, inflation growing, and so on. So I suggested to my family to try life elsewhere in Zambia, which was near. And then the family said, but they speak English. I say, I will learn and I will know. A few months later, then I say, actually, I can go to South Africa, because that's the year, it was in 90. That's the year when Mandela was released. And Mobutu, the then president of Zaire, where I was citizen, signed among the first the agreement with the president of South Africa, the white president, de Klerk, a visa-free agreement. So then I said that this is an opportunity to go to the new South Africa. Mandela is released, apartheid is collapsing, and it's a stronger economy. And my family tried their best, so they sent me to South Africa. So in South Africa, I tried to find small jobs and learn English and adjust and adapt, and I spent there 5 years. While there, because I moved in South Africa in September 90. And in October, RPF attacked Rwanda. So I learned it on the BBC while in South Africa. But over time, the community of Banyarwanda from DRC and other Banyarwanda who were as Baganda in some of the free states in South Africa. Because as you know, South Africa before 94 had some places called Bantustans. In those Bantustans, including Lesotho and Swaziland, we had Banyarwanda, but who came in either to study or work as Baganda, including for one time Professor Rugege, who was Chief Justice. But when I reached there, he was already gone. But he was a lecturer in, or a professor in Swaziland. There were other people like Mukabaranga, who was Dirkab of Education in 94, 95, who was in South Africa, a person called Mutebwa, and many others in Transkei. So we created the RPF network through fax and telephones, and then finally meetings. And in 92 or 93, I got elected the chairman of Johannesburg branch. But we had other partners, other members of RPF in Botswana, in Swaziland, in Lesotho, in Transkei, in Cape Town. So all of that became a region, and I was heading the branch. And in every branch, there were a chairman or a chairperson, and we had coordination of our region. So we became active members of RPF while in exile. So in 95, I came to visit Rwanda in 94, December. There was my brother's wedding. And from there, I took the decision to come back. So I went and resigned from where I was working. And I packed and came back in April during commemoration time into Rwanda. And in May in 95, I started in the Ministry of Women Affairs and Family. My return was very shocking. It was after genocide. The country was extremely poor. The people were so traumatized. We had many places in rural area that were empty because we had more than 2 million refugees in DRC, in Tanzania, in Burundi. Prisons were full of people arrested on allegations of committing genocide. So many orphans on the street, widows, many homes destroyed, including government buildings and private homes. So it was really a situation you do not want to see. But as patriotic and as RPF young cadres, we also felt that finally there was that victory of RPF controlling the country and stopping genocide and taking the oath of changing that nation, rebuilding, first of all, healing the wounds, secondly, stabilizing the country, and thirdly, reuniting, reconciling Banyarwanda, and aligning them around a common purpose, a common vision. And I saw all of that happening. It was tough, hectic, but we were lucky to have the RPF leadership. Our chairman of RPF, President Kagame, was young, 37 or 38 by then, but very tough and serious about what to do to stabilize the country. So during that transitional period, from 94 probably to 2000, there was a repatriation of those refugees. There was an interim constitution. There was a framework on how to handle the transition, how to build a government of unity and a broad-based government, all inclusive of all political parties that did not commit genocide, and clearing missions of ministries, putting up back the administration, the judiciary system, coordination and support systems with NGOs, churches, to really give care to returnees, to refugees, to returning home, and especially to the survivors of genocide. Some were very young, others were just children dumped on the street or picked under the corpse of killed families and neighbors, whom we could not know where they come from, who are the parents, where they belong to. So the situation was really traumatic, was desperate, and poverty was extreme. Every household had difficulties to get food, to access water, to electricity was really very limited. The Kigali and the Rwanda you see today is, if pictures and videos are put on, even the nature of trees and everything, for me, it's these are totally different countries. They have nothing to do. Even the faces of the people, even the way people walk and the way they talk and how it was that time, it was really quite bad. But we were so determined, we were so passionate to fix the country. And we were highly guided and inspired by our leaders, especially the soldiers who stopped the genocide. And they spent more than a year without earning a salary because there was no money to pay them. And us in public service, although I came from South Africa, I saw other people coming from Europe, Canada, and everywhere, and we were all public servant. No cars, no salary. Time to time we were paid food from the World Food Program. Not enough for the months, but I can't tell you how we were living, and we were quite happy to be like that. And if we had missions on ground to go, for example, to Butare or Kyangugu or wherever to do some work, we did not expect to be paid mission fees or a way to sleep. We will go to the military barracks and say, we are on mission, can we sleep here? And the soldiers will be happy to say, oh yeah, please come, let's stay together. They were not also wealthier. They were in barracks. Most of them have partly demolished or covered by sheetings and so on. But the momentum, the determination, mainly by RPF to rebuild Rwanda was so high, and the energy, I can't believe even in myself that the energy and the positive energy that I had that time cannot be compared to probably my energy today and my passion to do things. Yeah. Before I became minister, I was, as you could hear, a technocrat at the lowest level in the Ministry of Family and Women Affairs. After that, I became Director of Planning in the Ministry of Minecofin, Ministry of Economic Planning and Finance. And that's where the strategy, the dissemination of Vision 2020, the first draft of the poverty reduction strategy was taking place, of course, under the guidance of the ministers of finance, and also conveying to us or through us the government vision and plans, and we will put it in music and disseminate to the public and to other institutions as well. So after Minecofin, I became PS in the Ministry of Public Service, MIFOTRA. The aim by then was to reform the public service. The public service in Rwanda was probably the biggest employer in the country, and amazingly or unfortunately, the qualifications of a public servant of those days was that less than 20% have had some university level could be A1 in Rwanda was like you've done the pre-bachelor degree, and very few had the bachelor degree. I can't talk of masters or PhDs. They were not visible in the public service, and they were the minority. So the rest of public administration was people with secondary school or half of secondary school. So those in capabilities of devising policies were very few. So our reforms changed the pyramid. So we became 80% graduate and 20% support staff. And most of the civil servants went back to school, those who were willing. Others were sent to business, and we shrinked or made lean the ministries and also reducing the layers. When I joined, we had like section, divisions, directorate, then DG, then DIRCAB, and then minister in the ministry. So even the decision-making process will be quite bureaucratic, so many red tapes, but we flattened the administration, and we also removed things that were bringing burden to government, like government vehicles. And that's when the scheme of co-financed vehicles for senior public servant happened. And from there, it's when I became first time Minister of State in Minicom, Ministry of Commerce. But I had specific tasks, industry and investment promotion. And after 3 years, I think, I became Minister of State in the Ministry of Land, but in charge of environment and mining. Then for 17 months, Minister of Infrastructure, so electricity, water, roads, airports, ports, government buildings, public works, housing, and all these things, including meteorology. And after that, then I became ambassador to South Africa, ambassador to DRC, appointed ambassador to Belgium and rejected, and currently ambassador at large for the Great Lakes. So what did I encounter in the process? From the beginning, we had so many priorities as Rwanda and very limited budget. We had also a serious challenge of capacity in terms of skills to perform the vision, the task of government. We had so many challenges and very limited financial and technical capacity to address. So we had to build all together. There were also very many external factors. In 94 and after 94, during our transition, there were so many NGOs in Rwanda, international NGOs, trying to play the role of government in different way with the different agendas, and doing the same in Goma and Bukavu and in refugee camps, sometimes being the problem and undermining local government and mainly the government programs by bringing theirs, and they had budget. So they kind of superseded government. So we had to deal with without creating aid coordination, NGOs, rules and regulations, and closing some, kicking out some. And then once outside, they became very critical and very negative about Rwanda. So while we had to do with our own development, it was so criticized. Every decision that was taken as Rwanda, Gacaca, for example, for justice and reconciliation, was badly criticized, kind of international rejected, until a certain time when it was they were proven wrong. Settling people into grouped settlement, because Rwandans were settled in a scattered way. A house, a farm, and then a house, a farm. some in the marshland, some up hills, and in this coordinated way. And the agriculture was not that productive. It was very much subsistence, and 2 or 3 provinces were on permanent hunger, and they were fed by a World Food Program. So all these drastic measures of reforming agriculture, reforming settlement, urbanization, putting effort in education and health, and unity and reconciliation programs, trauma management, fostering children from orphanages and from the street into families, and closing orphanages, rendering justice, and at the same time dealing with unity and reconciliation issues were quite complex, but very interesting and yielding and encouraging. So my experience is that I learned a lot. I also contributed the way I could, based on my own passion and skills and information and guidance I got from my bosses. And what, as a boss at a certain time, I also conveyed through the teams under my leadership. And throughout, we were under watch and under supervision of President Kagame. For him, discipline, quality, speed, very important. So you are on a permanent pressure to deliver, but also great support. So the learning part of experience in leadership, of patriotism, and of looking for results have actually built up. I can't say, I don't think if I could not really go through these layers of administration in Rwanda at that particular time, that I would be who I am today. Probably I could have a different path. Meaning who I am, it means how I see things, how I deal with issues, and how I perceive leadership could probably be different if I did not come back to my country, and if I did not have the opportunity, the chance to serve under all those different positions in the government of Rwanda. Both countries are perceived or seen as difficult for Rwanda, because when I went to South Africa, that's where the detractors of Rwanda were, Karega, Kayumba, and the RNC fighting the government of Rwanda and building ties with FDLR and the other detractors in Europe or in America. And Kinshasa, of course, it was came the time when Rwanda and DRC were at clogged or difficult times. But for me as a diplomat and as a mature cadre of RPF and standing for the government of Rwanda, I was so much empowered that nothing was taken personal. It could be tough, but it could defeat me and weaken me and make me feel wounded, because I knew that I stood for a cause, and I knew that I carried a lot of dignity and pride in what the leadership of Rwanda is doing, and I knew exactly what was the problem. And whenever I was given a chance or an opportunity, I will explain it the way it is. That it is breaking hearts or shocking, but the confidence of being on the truth side, even though difficult, was not painful for me, because I felt everywhere I was the strong support of a strong and effective state of Rwanda. I don't look at the attacks because everything I say on DRC, I was born, I grew up, and I worked in Congo. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know everything almost about the relationship, the historical perspective of Rwanda, Banyarwanda in DRC, Banyarwanda in the region, and the treatment they get in DRC at different times. So I talk of things I know, and I talk of things that may not be pleasant to those who want to be in denial, or those who have been taken over by the genocidal ideology, or the hate and stigmatization against Banyarwanda people. So what I say is shocking to them, and definitely whenever I speak or I write, I expect those ones to react the way they react. So I really don't pay much attention to the bad reactions. I make sure that my message has gone through, either well or badly received, but I don't get deterred about it. Yeah. We were colonized by Belgium. It is well known that they found in Rwanda a secular nation. So Rwanda was not a nation created artificially by any foreign or power of the world, including the Belgian. But they did their best to really destroy the setup they found. The first thing they did was to kick out our King Musinga, because he resisted the culture that they were bringing, he resisted the policies and the way they wanted Rwanda shaped, contrary to probably what Rwanda was. And Musinga was sent into refugees in Congo and later on killed. So I can say the Belgians killed the king of Rwanda whom they found. And they invested with powers his son, contrary to the rules and regulations within the traditions of Rwanda. And they forced him to adopt, to be baptized as a Catholic against his will, and they imposed the way of life and governance in Rwanda through his kingdom. And when he tried to be talking about independence and joining other forces in Africa and in the world, South Asia, after the conference in '55 in Bandung, Indonesia, where some Africans like Liberia, Ethiopian, and the Asians and many other forces like the Nkrumah, the Lumumba from DRC, started discussing about being self-determined and being independent. The Belgium came and divided Rwandans seriously along lines that they called races and tribes, Hutu, Tutsis, and Twa, people whom for centuries were living together, having children together, running their country together, defending it together against any invasion, suddenly were broken into antagonistic races. And before independence, they made sure the leadership of Rwanda, that was a kingdom and the traditional monarchy of Rwanda, that Rudahigwa, whom they invested themselves, was killed because he was talking independence in a mysterious way, and they wanted to replace him by someone not from the kingdom lineage, just to establish their era through some of the puppets they've created in Rwanda. And the wise men from the kingdom proclaimed quickly the replacement of the king by another king called Kigeli V. But the Belgium did all their best so that Kigeli does not govern. He went to a ceremony in DRC a few months after his swearing in Rwanda to inaugurate independence in DRC, and he could not come back. Borders were closed against him, and most Tutsis and the political party of the king, because parties were born in the process towards democratization or independence, and the party of the king, UNR, and everyone called Tutsis were persecuted, were kicked out, and that's how the many Rwandans became refugees between 59 and 63. So I can say the Belgium killed our first king, they killed the second king, and they sent into eternal refugee status the third king, and they established a government of puppet that perpetuated the divide and rule along lines of fake races of Tutsi Hutus, and in the end that committed genocide in 94. So the critical role of the Belgium is immense and very negative into the development of our nation. So there's no shame to say it, and it's not because they could not allow me to go there. We tried to overlook the past and build a nice future like we did with France and other countries, but the cycle of their bad attitude keeps on coming back. You remember that even though Belgians were among the first to give justice against some perpetrators of genocide, but also the strongest group of denial is established in Belgium, and they all have nationality of Belgium, and most of them are descendant from the genocidaire. So they entertain mixed things, very antagonistic, like they managed Rwanda in the past, and that is not very constructive or helpful for Rwanda evolution. There were more than 500,000 orphans who do not know who are their parents. There were so many street children. There were many widows without shelter. And there were so many people illiterate. And I can tell that 80% of Rwandans were walking barefoot. And everyone, including people in Kiyovu, because Kiyovu was the posh area, were cooking on charcoal or wood fire. Electricity was just in Kigali, a bit in Huye toward the university, and the center that was second city, Butare, and Ruengeri and Gisenyi. But Kayonza, Nyagatare was almost inexistent. Even here in Kigali, the best building ever was Hotel de Mille Collines. The second was Novotel in Kaikiru, and the tallest building was Ruwangura House. And unfinished building. And where there's all these tall buildings in the city, there was a market, a very poor market, where some of the things are sold on the floor. And Nyamirambo was almost the best looking part of Kigali. All these parts where you see, is it Sopetrad? Where you see these buildings of Rama, RSSB, and behind Rura, it was called Kiyovu Cy'Abakene, slums throughout the Green Park, Kimichanga, and so on. And Kichukiro was not tarmacked, Gikondo not tarmacked, Nyarutarama non-existent. Kibagabaga not existent, Gachuriro nothing, Gisozi field of urutoki, cows and those kind of things, and poverty was above 70% in the real sense. As a civil servant, I was earning 19,000 francs as a graduate. Now imagine the non-graduate. Imagine how much a policeman, a teacher, or a soldier, it was probably between 1,000 to 6,000 francs. Housing was an issue, water, electricity, and everything. So I can say the country was rebuilt from scratch. Ministries were looted, bank looted, government establishment looted. So even the rehabilitation, the re-equipment of our government facilities, the building houses for orphans and widowers and widows from genocide, resettling the refugees who ran away from 59-63, and the returnees after going to Goma and Gisenyi in 94, that came back in 97, 98, 99 in millions with limited resources. The reconciliation, the justice, all going in tandem. Wearing shoes, replanting trees, conserving, promoting tourism, building everything you see, supporting private sector, education, sending young Rwandans abroad, in India to study, in America, in UK, in South Africa, everywhere, in Uganda, in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and getting them back, embarking on IT programs, infrastructure programs, electrification, water and sanitation, gender development, youth empowerment, just to name a few. I think that was bold leadership, first of all, to unite the Rwandans, align them behind the Vision 2020, and putting in place the poverty reduction strategy, reforming institutions, and building the capacity, mobilizing foreign resources and domestic resources, and ensuring transparency in working is what probably generated the new Rwanda you see. But I'm very celebratory because I know what I'm talking about. I know what I saw. There was not even a cemetery. People were burying their dead in their compound. The biggest hospital was CHK. King Faisal was so looted, and it was being used by an NGO called Médecins Sans Frontières. Just for you to have an idea. Things like going to arena, going to convention center, for me it's, the ice on the cake. But that said, Vision 2020 has been completed successfully. But Vision 2050 is the big dream or the ambitious goals of the day. And that's where I need to mobilize the youth, not to join me in the celebration of the past time and the achievement, but definitely to join and embark on the Agenda 2050 and make sure that Rwanda achieves much more development. Today we are talking about $1,200 GDP per capita per year. It is still very little, but compared to the $250 that we found in 95, it's multiplying fourfold the GDP per capita. So it has never happened. Rwanda has been the first in the world to transform quite fast. But we want in 2035 to be at least at $4,000. So multiplying again that economy by fourfolds in 10 years now. Not even, 10 years exactly. And to have 12,000 GDP per capita at $12,000 in 2050. Probably by then you'll be at my age today, I don't know. So you have to work hard as well. You have to keep the momentum, to use the opportunity, the foundation, and the can-do attitude. Because truly speaking, even though I was passionate working in government, when our president was talking of Vision 2020 and sending us to tell the people about Vision 2020 and mobilize institutions, I was doing it because I was paid to do it. But I was not believing we'll have these roads, we'll have this water, we'll have these schools that we have, we'll have things the way they are today, and we will achieve those goals. It was like, he's crazy. Especially when he started talking about IT. Even some members of cabinet will whisper and say, what is he talking about? People are not eating and so on. And he's saying jobs will be created by IT. We will move from an agrarian society to a service-based industry. It's like we don't even have electricity to do those industries. We don't even have the skills. We're not even eating enough. Bugesera is under hunger. Gikongoro, which was part of the southern province, malnutrition was high. We complain today of stunting, but there it was not just stunting, it was acute malnutrition. Children dying in thousands, people dying of malaria like you've never seen before. The mortality rates of infants, of mothers, the life expectancy was not even reaching 50 years. I think it was 49 years. Now we are probably among the top in Africa of a high level of life expectancy. It's a combination of all. Education, health, nutrition, good environment we live in, we breathe good air, we gym, we exercise, we live in better houses than we were before. And we probably have more income and more opportunities. Couples, wives and husband do work or are productive, and they can multiply their income according to their capabilities and capacities. The private sector has grown. We have an airline, we have industrial parks. We add value to our agriculture produce, to our timber, to our minerals, to many things. So definitely their vision of the president of moving from agrarian subsistence economy toward a much more sophisticated logistics, financial, hospitality and service is actually occurring. It's no longer a dream or a song. And IT, we have 4G, 5Gs somewhere, and I see people on the bicycle, people farming with Android phone. We could not imagine that. Even the landlines were reserved to ministers and few rich people in Kiovukavakire and offices of the governors in the provinces. Yeah. First of all, to strongly believe in unity and do away with tribalism and divisionism, and two, being patriotic and disciplined, and also trying to be relevant in whatever they can do. Like saying, what is my contribution to the legacy or to building my nation and my livelihood? It is good to go for entertainment, it is good to enjoy life, but that should not be the core business. Because I also noticed that the youth today put more energy, more effort and more resources into enjoyment, social life, which is not bad, but reward yourself after you have been highly productive. Don't put half of your income or 80% of your income into things that are not generating any value, things that can even destroy your health, destroy your mind, and distract your focus. So it's good to have a strike balance of good mental strength, spiritual, intellectual strength, and then work on your fitness and be systematic and result-oriented into the work you do, either it is private work or public work. or anything to contribute to the development of Rwanda, to the multiplication of our GDP, to consolidating the social trust, rebuilding the nation, and repositioning our nation at the center stage of the global environment. Remember, our president said we must be at the high table. But you don't force yourself into the high table. You have to deserve it. You deserve it by doing what high people sitting on the high table do. Science, technology, innovation, creativity, stabilization is what actually give you the credit and the dignity to be invited or to deserve to sit on the high table.